And welcome back. Today marks exactly 6 weeks since the debate between President Biden and former President Trump. And we've lived what seems like a political lifetime since they both took the stage. But the electoral dust seems to be settling, and the race once again looks to be a tight one. This morning, the Cook Political Report moved 3 battleground states that are key, Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada, from lean Republican to toss-up, citing increased Democratic energy and unity around Kamala Harris. The states joined battleground Wisconsin, Michigan, and the all-important Pennsylvania as the 6 toss-up states in the Cook Political Report ratings. In the words of our friend Amy Walter, the presidential contest has moved from one that was Trump's to lose to a much more competitive contest. Joining me now is Pennsylvania Democratic Congressman Chris Deluzio. Congressman, thank you for being here. And let's start with this renewed energy from the Democratic campaign in the form of Kamala Harris. She is serving as vice president right now. But what do you want to know about her personal vision for the Oval Office, maybe even separate from President Biden's?
Well, look, I think the big first decision she had to make was to choose a running mate, choose a future governing partner in Governor Walz, which she did. And I think that was a decision that showed good judgment, picking a guy who, look, served this country as a football coach, as a teacher, really has been delivering in Minnesota for his people there. I think it bodes well for her judgment and her willingness to now continue the good work of the Biden-Harris administration. Look, I'm from Western Pennsylvania. We have seen what it means to have real investment from infrastructure money coming our way. We've seen the manufacturing construction boom. We've seen a lot from this president and this vice president taking on junk fees and price gouging. I'm excited to see Kamala Harris continue that and take that campaign to Western Pennsylvania.
But we are just only about 90 days out from the election. Does she need to differentiate herself a little bit, show maybe a specific vision that is separate from the work that she had as vice president underneath President Biden?
Look, she's going to be her own candidate, and she is. And you're seeing enthusiasm right now. The polls are obviously moving in Democrats' favor, but we're also seeing it with volunteer signups in places like Western Pennsylvania, my congressional district. We're seeing small dollar donations. I saw it in Philadelphia when she and Governor Walz fired up that crowd in Philly. They were really on point. You saw folks excited, energized. I'm seeing it in rooms, in union halls in my district. People are ready to win and are ready to help deliver this ticket.
I want to show you some numbers from a new CNBC poll. It says that 78% of respondents believe that they know some or a lot about Donald Trump and what he would do on the economy specifically. That number is just 58% for Vice President Harris. What's your reaction to that? Does she need to do a bit of a better job selling her vision for the economy? Does she need to introduce that to voters?
Well, she's been our nominee now only for a few weeks. So, of course, we've got some campaigning to do. And I think we've got to help her make the case for what she's going to do in this next term and also remind people what Donald Trump did when he was in office, which was to do tax cuts for billionaires and huge corporations, that same trickle-down economic fairy tale that has never worked, that plotted to strip places like my region of Western Pennsylvania for parts. We're not going back to that. We're not going back to the dark days of ripping away people's freedom, of telling women what to do with their bodies and their pregnancies. And folks know that Vice President Harris has been part of administration's been standing up for working people and standing up for folks' freedom. And that is a key part of this campaign. It's going to be part of, I know, Vice President Harris's message in Western Pennsylvania and all over the country.
One of the big criticisms from former President Trump today of Vice President Harris is that she's been the nominee now for several weeks. She's not conducted an media interview yet. She's yet to do a press conference. There have been a lot of positions that she took prior to 2020 in which she's changed course. Do you think that it's time for her to sit down for an interview and explain that decision to change course on some of these issues and take some tough questions from members of the media?
Look, I know Donald Trump doesn't have anything to do other than campaigning. She's the vice president of the United States and is helping President Biden navigate crises across the globe and here at home. That's the job. I think folks saw the way Donald Trump did that job, which is why we kicked him out of office after 4 years. Vice President Harris, I am sure, is going to be open with the press. I know she's been talking to folks, to and from on the flights. And look, the contrast between transparency on her part and Donald Trump is just tremendous. I mean, this is a guy who makes it up as he goes along, can't find a lie that he doesn't love. I mean, my goodness, we can't believe a word this guy says.
Let me ask you about a specific issue that I know is important to your voters in Western Pennsylvania, and that's the issue of fracking. That's something that in the past Kamala Harris has been opposed to. Her campaign now says that she supports. How does that resonate with voters in your district?
Well, that's the right position for her to take. And that's where President Biden has been. That's where the Biden-Harris administration has been. And there are lots of union workers in my region who rely on that industry. And it's helping us, frankly, be energy secure and help us meet our climate goals going forward. So that's the right decision for Vice President Harris to make. And frankly, the fact that she has so strong support from the union movement, from folks in labor, tells you about her values, tells you about who she is as a candidate and why labor is going to be showing up for her in Pennsylvania come November.
So we're just a couple of weeks out from the Democratic National Convention. Some of your fellow frontline Democrats have decided that they're not going to attend the convention for one reason or another. What's your plan? Will you be there? Will you be there to support your nominee?
Yeah, look, I'm supporting Vice President Harris and Governor Walz. I mean, the stakes cannot be higher. I don't forget what it was when Donald Trump was in the White House. I don't forget the insurrection he tried to lead and failed at leading. My goodness, thank you, God, he did fail on January 6th. This is a guy who tried to rip up our Constitution, doesn't understand democracy, who called veterans who are willing to risk their lives suckers and losers. That's who this guy is, a draft dodger on top of it. So no, we're not going back to that. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that guy never steps foot in the White House again. And we're going to deliver a win for Vice President Harris in Pennsylvania.
So just to be clear, you will go to Chicago to be a part of the convention?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, great. And then you were at this rally that the new vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, and the vice president participated in Philadelphia. And it certainly seemed to be a loud and enthusiastic crowd. They've had a couple of good weeks. But how do they continue to maintain this energy, particularly in a state like Pennsylvania, where your governor, Josh Shapiro, was passed over as the running mate? How do they keep Pennsylvania voters engaged all the way up to Election Day?
A couple simple messages that I think are right on with what the Harris-Walz team believe in, right? We're going to continue to fight price gouging and these junk fees that the Biden-Harris administration has been taking dead aim at. We got to grow the middle class, and you're seeing that with the manufacturing boom that's happening all over the country. The infrastructure investment is about defending freedom. And I know, deep in my bones, that Vice President Harris, someone who's going to stand up for our freedom, for women's ability to make their own choices for their pregnancies and their health, and that our democracy will be strong and protected when she's in the White House.
Okay, Congressman Chris Deluzio, thank you so much for the conversation, sir, especially over a recess week where I'm sure you're busy with your constituents. We appreciate you being on.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.